think she had some sound advice. First of all, it's all about hair, what you wear, and your shoes, right? So clearly, I listened. Secondly, if the best advice I ever got was dress for the job you want, not the job you have, I think I want to be Drake. But that said, thank you for your time this morning, and it's a pleasure to be here. AdColony, for those of you who know who we are, is a business that's really focused on mobile video. We render HD quality video in less than a tenth of a second on behalf of about 18,000 publishers. And we grew a very quick business. We're fortunate enough to be acquired by Opera about a year ago. And today we're going to talk about some of the trends in the system and in the overall marketplace with respect to mobile, with respect to how it's affecting publishers, how some of the conversations we have every day kind of play out, and some of the tricks and tactics that we provide for our partners can be applicable to you and your business. So with that said, look, the cliche of the week, if you will, is that every publisher here is mobile first, right? But the question is, what's your flavor? Is it mobile web? Is it in-app? Where are you going to pick your strategy? And when you look at how you're going to focus on your mobile business, things are changing, right? There's this thing. How many of you guys are really focused or thinking about how iOS 9 and ad blocking is going to affect your business, next week, 2 weeks from now? Do you guys think it'll be disruptive? Majorly disruptive? Minor disruption? What do you think?
It's already the top app in the store.
It's already the top app in the store. Well, it's interesting, right? Because, I think there are any number of different thoughts. And, when you look around and you think about, kind of what the Wall Street Journal is saying, right? My grandmother read that article and said to me, hey, Matt, it's time to go to medical school. You kind of fucked up. And, it's not too late. But, that said, for us, and as we think about the business and we think about mobile, that ad blocking hysteria and, some of the buzzwords that have really disrupted the industry over the past couple years, they're not as applicable to the app business. And so in talking to publishers and talking to them about, kind of where they're positioned and what they're thinking about, some publishers are really focused on mobile web. It's the easy solution. And some focus really, really diligently and smartly on the app ecosystem. So that said, with every challenge comes opportunity. And what we challenge publishers to do is to reinvent their advertising business, because everything over the past 20 years is broken, right? Everything that we've learned in digital has changed. And when you look at that, you say, okay, I used to stand on the stage 5 years ago and talk about programmatic and talk about display, and I was a publisher, and I thought, heck, like programmatic's going to change my world. Real-time bidding is going to make everything better. I don't hear that conversation anymore. But that said, what we're talking about today could be totally vastly different in 2 years. But for today's business and for you guys to hit your bottom line over the next 6 to 18 months, I really truly believe, and our company believes, that the app business is where you should focus. Who's the most powerful guy in mobile and in media? I'll give you a hint. His name's up there. It's Tim Cook, right? And Tim Cook made a really interesting statement about a week ago when Apple had their event. He said, the future of TV is in apps. And, I believe it. I believe that the app is the new TV channel. I believe that, when I look at my phone and I look at how I spend my time, that's all changing and shifting. It used to be utilitarian by nature. And now you see great content producers, and now they're thinking about reinventing their ad businesses because of some of these shifts in consumption and some of these shifts in technology, which are enabling to run a more profitable business. So the question becomes, how do you marry content and advertising in a way that creates a great user experience? Advertising has always had a value exchange component. Growing up, who watched The Cosby Show? For 30 minutes of your time, you donated 8 minutes to NBC in exchange for, Bill and Claire, right? I like newspapers. Newspapers have full-page advertising. Advertising provides free content, right? We all know this. Radio. You guys got to listen to Taylor Swift, right? Because, Apple is providing ad experiences now on Apple Radio. And when you talk to consumers, right? How many of you are willing to pay 99 cents for an experience as opposed to watching an ad? It's a really interesting question, right? It doesn't matter what your HHI is. It doesn't matter what your demographic or psychographic profile is. It means that most people are willing to, they're willing to donate or, think about how they can get free content, and they want to make sure that's ad supported, and they really like video ads. When you look at mobile video consumption, a lot of that is happening in-app, right? We all know that, right? You look at time spent, some of that's skewed towards Facebook and Twitter and, your banking app and whatever else. But, 83% of users who are viewing mobile video in-app, 48% are viewing them mostly in-app. And so, that's heavy time spent, heavy consumption, and, lots of opportunity for upside. So a psychology experiment that we like to do is, how can publishers who have great content, create paywalls, create a great user experience, and think about their user experience in the same context as the great gaming companies. So when you think about mobile, and you think about who's printing money, the gaming space today is massive, right? The gaming space today is the new movie studio, right? Gaming is the new cinema. If you look at some of the gaming companies and big studios out there, if you think about Supercell or Glue or Rovio or King, those guys look at their release schedules the same way that Warner Brothers or 20th Century Fox or any of the big movie studios are thinking about how they release. And they're thinking about user acquisition in a really smart way. They're thinking about metrics in ways that traditional media companies haven't. Lifetime viewers, LTV, revenue per user, RPU, things like that. Those are the organic metrics that they run their businesses off of. And some of the smarter traditional publishers out there are saying, hey, can you spend 99 cents to access 8 articles a month or whatever it might be? Well, we do things with traditional publishers to get them involved and engaged in value exchange. Same way that when you watch The Cosby Show, you would watch 8 ads and you would see 30 minutes of content. So, here in this example, Sports Illustrated is not a partner of ours, but we figured everybody knows Sports Illustrated, and this is a really simple, you can't miss example, right? So users offered options to unlock premium content, including watching an ad. Those 3 options are you already a digital subscriber? Do you want to purchase a copy, or do you want a video ad? If the option is to watch the video ad, the ad plays. That's a 15-second, 30-second, 60-second experience. That's up to the publisher. But there's a value, there's a currency that the publisher sees in exchange for that time period. And what they get a better video experience. They get a better content experience. They get access to unlock an experience where it's analogous to what you get between levels at Candy Crush, or whether you're playing Angry Birds, or whether you're playing Clash of Clans, right? The theory is the same. The gaming companies have been doing it forever. Traditional media companies are starting to accept it because the display ad didn't work. So how can they incorporate video, interstitials, value exchange as a more valuable, number one, experience for the consumer? Number 2, it's a better monetization vehicle. And number 3, for the marketer, it's far more effective. So what about monetizing content that lives within the feed? All the cool kids are doing it, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, right? And I think as traditional media companies, a lot of us have, or a lot of you guys have, I keep speaking as if I'm still a publisher, but there's envy, there's platform envy. Everybody wants to be like the platforms, right? They've got it figured out. They've got this innovative technology. They're printing money. How can you be like them? Well, the answer is, A, you can get rid of the static banner. B, you can get rid of the static interstitial. C, you can get rid of the ad experience that buffers. Or D, you can create an in-feed experience which, once it comes into view, launches It plays for 6, 8, 12 seconds. It's not repurposed broadcast creative, but it's really engaging, and the call to action happens within the first 2 seconds of the play. And that thing monetizes at a far better clip than anything you would see from a programmatic exchange or from just anything static that you would see. So the 5 key takeaways today are pretty simple. Mobile adoption and consumption has quickly increased and evolved, right? We know that. That's a given. Everybody in this room understood that walking in. But it's more important than ever to have this mobile-first mentality, right? That landscape is shifting. Content and advertising need to be seamless. They should really work together to create a uniform, a lot of conformity in the user experience. We believe in value exchange. Value exchange is here, and it's only going to get bigger and better and more of a part of your business. What that means is, again, it comes back to that point I made earlier. It's a win for the consumer, it's a win for the marketer, and it's a win for the publisher. I'm going to get up here and make a bold statement. Display's dead. Display's old news, right? If you're sitting here and you're still thinking about programmatic display banners, you're kind of screwed. You got to think in bigger, broader terms. Sorry, don't laugh. When integrating video, it's best to do so natively. So, the native experience doesn't necessarily mean, there's no definition to what native means, right? I could ask this side of the room and that side of the room what native means, but I'm not sure that I'll get one conform answer. So, what it means to your business is going to be based on your goals and objectives. Think about it in terms of your business and not trying to be like someone else. So, in Finale, value exchange, native video ads can drive meaningful revenue. It also creates a premium user experience, right? I think Brian Marcy in his opening letter for the conference said, "What's old is new again," and autoplay video is the perfect example of that. So, as we look at a world where ad blockers are going to become relevant, right, and that's coming fast and furiously. That's not relevant to the app world, right? That doesn't apply to businesses that run in-app, ads that run in-app. That stuff's not going to get blocked. And when you think about some of the headaches that you've got, whether that be viewability, right? Full screen video in-app is all 100% viewable. So, some of those challenges that might keep you up at night, hopefully they don't, those can all be overcome by thinking about an app-first strategy. So with that, any questions?
In case you guys don't have questions, I do have a quick one. Can you talk a bit about the piece about video is interesting and the sort of the autoplay challenge that a lot of people are facing. Can you talk about the creative challenges of grabbing that? You have 2 seconds to grab a mobile user's attention or the user's attention. What are the creative challenges inherent in that?
Sure. So it's a great question, right? Because it makes that experience. You've got the blink of an eye to get a user to take action on an ad. And when you look at an in-feed autoplay ad experience, it's muted, right? So we've come up with best practices, and we've worked very closely with any number of creative shops and media shops to say, hey, how can you start that ad with big, bold print? Or how can you show a celebrity immediately with some type of visual? The best example I can give you is Charlotte McKinney, right? A lot of you might remember that ad from the Super Bowl with Charlotte McKinney sitting there with 2 melons, in front of her, and the response rate on that was astronomical. So if you can be big, if you can be bold, and if you can show some type of call to action right off the bat, then you're not waiting for the last 5 seconds like we have historically with 30-second pre-roll, but you're actually getting the message out there right up front and center.
Ideally without sound, increasingly, right?
Exactly.
All right, one question I think we have time for. No? Oh, over here. Paul, we have about half a minute for this.
Just curious, one of the challenges that we often face is not only getting a 15-second ad from a client, let alone they just want to give us the 30, because obviously as video is the ultimate headless form of media, it can be distributed anywhere, and getting them to cut additional even 15s is such a challenge. So how have you found it to be successful, specifically if you're now asking the post house and the creative agency to maybe cut one where the call to action changes, it's within the first 3 seconds. kind of an ultimate contradiction of what they want to give us in the 30. So what have you guys done to find success in that way?
Sure, so it's great, right? Because those guys realize that Facebook's pushing the needle, Twitter's pushing the needle, Instagram's pushing the needle, and Tumblr's pushing the needle. So with that, as they create their 30-second broadcast unit, as they create their 15-second pre-roll unit, they're actually cutting specific 6, 8, and 12-second units for different purposes. So that just means an extra hour or two while they're sitting, in front of the camera. And that's been massively successful. We've worked with 12 different creative agencies and their media teams to help build this out. So those guys are all looking to work together to create these initiatives at scale.
Great, and that's all we have time for. So thanks,
Perfect.
Matt.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. We're gonna, before we break for coffee.